Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Football, and I am your host, Nicholas Falato, and it is January 19th, 2018, and we are here to talk about the defensive prospects that will be attending the Reese's Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama next week. I'm very excited, going to board a plane early Sunday, and I will be down there for my second straight year, like I elaborated on. Please ignore the Wayne train, it's incredibly obnoxious, and I deal with this all day. So, first, before we dive into the prospects that will be there have been plenty of prospects that have bailed out or have not accepted their invite. So some of those seniors, the top seniors that will not be attending, are linebacker from Alabama, Rashaan Evans. I was incredibly excited to watch this kid down there because he's incredibly explosive on tape, very, very powerful hitter. He was just one of those people I followed all throughout the college football season. He will not be down there. Ohio State offensive lineman Billy Price, Mason Rudolph, like we talked about yesterday, the Oklahoma State quarterback, Anthony Miller, the Memphis wide receiver, Sony Michel and Nick Chubb, both will not be there, the running backs of Georgia. Maurice Hurst, the defensive lineman from Michigan, probably wasn't going to improve his stock going down there. He's already more than likely going to be a first-round pick. Cortland Sutton, the SMU wide receiver, will not be there. Sky Moore, Cameron Moore of BC, Martinez Rankin, Frank Ragnow, Sean Dion Hamilton, who is the hurt individual from Alabama, Derek Nnadi, Duke Ejiofor, Harold Landry, Davin Bellamy, and Anthony Averett, Darren Carrington, who we went over last show, Jamarco Jones, Brennan Smith, Lorenzo Carter, Josie Jewell, and Bradley Chubb will not be there for some of the top seniors in the class. I was upset when I heard Derek Nnadi was not going to be there. He's the defensive tackle from Florida State. He has an incredibly strong lower body, great low center of gravity, and he understands how to use his leverage in an excellent manner at the point of attack. Had 53 tackles, 10 for a loss, 3.5 sacks as an interior offensive lineman this year. Very, very disruptive, very, very strong anchor against the run. I did see on tape a little bit because I watched the game against North Carolina State, and I've just been watching him throughout this season. He struggled a little bit against double teams, and his lack of length would show up on tape, which sometimes it's good to be low and not have the most length so you can utilize the leverage, the natural leverage that you have, but it also hurts when you give up your chest, and offensive linemen who have longer arms can establish inside hand placement, and if they're strong enough, can guide you where they want. So he did struggle with that. He was also kind of stiff, tight-hipped. Duke Ejiofor will not be there. He's one of my guys for the Inside the Pylon draft guide. I'm incredibly high on Duke Ejiofor. I think he could have really improved his stock going down there. He has a litany of pass rushing moves. He isn't overly explosive. I don't think it's as bad as some people have made it out to be, but I would say it's good. It's definitely not elite or anything like that, but man, he can really get skinny through the gap, and he can really bend the corner to get to the quarterback, has a relentless motor. He will not be down there. And then Harold Landry, another player who is not going, who a lot of the draft world was very excited about going. In 2015, Harold Landry had 60 tackles, 16 for a loss, and 3.5 sacks. And then he blew up in 2016 with 50 tackles, 22 for a loss, and 16.5 sacks. He decided to go back to school for his senior year, and he was injured the majority of the year, and he didn't exactly live up to it. 38 tackles, 8.5 for a loss, 5 sacks. Now, a lot of people have questioned, okay, he was dealing with injuries and all that kind of stuff, so I thought he could have really helped improve his stock because he is an incredible athlete, and he has incredible explosiveness up the arc, the flexibility to bend, but he doesn't really understand the nuances of being a pass rusher, how to use your hands, how to disengage blocks. He really relied on his athletic ability to get him into position to capitalize, and I wanted to see him down at the Senior Bowl, but he will not be going either. So it's disappointing, happens every year, but there's still going to be plenty of prospects down there that I'm very excited to see. Guys like Josh Allen, guys like Baker Mayfield, we went over all those guys, and a bunch of defensive guys that we're going to go over right now. And we're going to start with the defensive tackles, the interior defensive tackles. And first, I want to start with a guy who played all over the Cavaliers' defensive line for Virginia, and that is Andrew Brown. Now, I did Andrew Brown for the draft guide as well. I think Andrew Brown has value in the league. I think he's going to come in as a backup defensive lineman. Again, he provided a lot of positional versatility. He would drop into coverage every now and again. He played 5 technique, would jump into 1 technique, 3 technique. He did really all that, and he has the size that you would want. 6'4", about 280 pounds, has some interior pass rushing moves, but he is just incredibly inconsistent. He would show you a great polished technique one play and then absolutely blows assignment the next play. His mental toughness is not there. He's been ejected from a few games, and it was just one of those things where I think he's going to need a strong locker room to really kind of level him out. I think he has good pad level. He has good overall athletic ability and change of direction. Can come off the line really quick as well. But he really needs a lot of work around the edges when it comes to his mental processing, his mental toughness, and the fact that he's just not a consistent player. So if he goes to a locker room that has a strong veteran presence, I think he could maximize himself. But he will be down at the Senior Bowl, and I'm excited to go and see him because I've been watching his tape for over a year now since I got assigned to him for this guide. So he will be down there. Poona Ford out of Texas. He's 6 foot, 305 pounds, will be down there. He was at the East-West Shrine game. A lot of people were high on him, but just paying attention to some of the media guys that are down there, it didn't seem like he was able to disengage blocks down at the East-West Shrine game practices from some of these tackles. And I don't see him improving that at the Senior Bowl, where he will be facing better competition in the East-West Shrine game. So that's something I'm a little bit worried about when it comes to that. Justin Jones out of North Carolina State will be there, as will B.J. Hill. And again, the four guys that were on that defensive line, Bradley Chubb, who's going to be a top 5 pick, he is not making it. Then we see Kentavius Street at the East-West Shrine game is more than likely going to get bumped up to the Senior Bowl because he's absolutely killing it there. But Justin Jones, I thought he had good gap discipline. He has a solid first step. He's 6'2", 312 pounds. And B.J. Hill, very long player, different type of player. He's 6'4", 315 pounds. I think he's a good overall player. Had 55 tackles, 3.5 for loss, and 2 sacks. He seems to be good at a lot of things, solid at a lot of things, not really excellent at any one specific thing. But hey, maybe he could sway people's opinion down there at the Senior Bowl. But it's kind of interesting just to see the entire North Carolina State defensive line be this successful, all seniors, and then obviously Bradley Chubb, who will not be there, is a freak of nature. And then we have Christian Lacouture, a 6'5", 292-pound defensive tackle from LSU. And I really want to bring him up because he had a very encouraging junior season in 2015, and then he suffered a terrible ACL injury that held him out of the entire 2016 team. He ended up becoming like an assistant coach on the team to help out. He did not stray far from the program. And then he comes back in 2017 because he basically took that redshirt year. And he posted 66 tackles, 8.5 for loss, and 6 sacks. This is the kind of kid that you root for. So when I look at that, he has pretty good size, 6'5", 292. He's going to be down there. He's an SEC player, used to facing the top competition in college. Hopefully he can overcome this injury and dominate down there at the Senior Bowl. Again, somebody you definitely root for. We have a Division II guy on the defensive line, 6'4", 300-pound Nathan Shepard from Fort Hays State. I couldn't find any tape on Shepard, so I didn't watch any tape on Shepard, but he had 38 tackles, 12.5 for loss, and 4 sacks. He's playing Division II competition, so he's going to really need to eat a hearty breakfast when he's facing these big dogs who play Division I Power 5 schools at this level. Then we have Harrison Phillips. Now, Harrison Phillips is a kid from Stanford. He's about 6'4", 295 pounds. I watched his game versus Notre Dame. He was a Benaric Award finalist, this individual. 2016, he had 46 tackles, 10.5 for a loss, and 7 sacks. And then this past year, he had 92 tackles, 14.5 for a loss, and 7.5 sacks. He seemed to have a knack for the sack for an interior defensive lineman. Yes, I am Walt Clyde Frazier, and I'm an incredible weirdo. But on the tape, I thought he gave up his chest a little bit too much, and he can get high at the point of attack, which would make him lose his natural leverage. When his hips would go high, his hands would go high, his head would go high. It gets him off balance, especially with interior offensive linemen who have a lower center of gravity that can get up under him and drive him back. So that was one thing that I did see. I thought he got pushed around a little bit too much in the run game, but this guy, again, has a knack for the sack. So he's going to be down there. Interesting to see him in the one-on-one situations. And I'm also interested to see who's going to get bumped up, because some of these guys will not be there. Maurice Hurst, Derek Nnadi, someone from the East-West Shrine game other than Poona Ford will more than likely be bumped up. There's also Greg Gilmore. I have not watched any Greg Gilmore. He's 6'4", 308 pounds out of LSU. And we're going to move on to the defensive ends. Now, we went over Harold Landry will not be there. Duke Ejiofor will not be there. But we do have Deshaun Hand. Now, the thing about Deshaun Hand that is very interesting, he's Alabama, but Deshaun Hand, I don't think is going to be a defensive end at the next level. He could possibly be a 5 technique defensive end in a 3-4 system, but he is a big body. He's about 6'3", 285, 290 pounds. He pushes along that line. Now, Deshaun Hand, I want to say, was the number 1 overall prospect coming out of high school. He was recruited by Alabama, and he basically sat in a rotational role all the way to his senior year because Jonathan Allen, Dalvin Tomlinson, you could just go through all of these defensive linemen, Ashawn Robinson, Dron Reed, all these guys over the years who started ahead of him because Alabama just gets 5-star recruits. So he finally gets to play this year. And I don't want to sit here and say it was underwhelming, but I was expecting more. I did his summer work, and I was really excited to see Deshaun Hand this past season. And while he is incredibly strong, he literally is a brick wall against pullers in power, counter, run schemes, and he utilizes incredible leg strength, upper body strength. He has solid to good football intelligence. I feel like he did put himself in position in the run game like Nick Saban would have wanted. He's also incredibly intelligent in the classroom. He's a civil engineer with a 3.7 GPA in his junior season. But he has no flexibility, man. And he just plays very slow. I just felt like he was very lumbering. I felt like he didn't have any pass rush moves. He's not explosive. Everything he does just seemed so slow to me. And I love the strength. I love what he can do at the point of attack. But this is the NFL, and when you look slow in college, you're going to look really slow in the NFL. So I am worried about that for Deshaun Hand, but nevertheless, he's still very intriguing because he is so strong, because he is a big name, and he is an Alabama defensive lineman. But Deshaun Hand, I just wish I saw more explosiveness. And then we have Marcus Davenport, who is incredibly intriguing. He is 6'7", about 255 pounds, and he played at the University of Texas at San Antonio, so UTSA. So that is not the top level competition, but this kid has some unteachable traits. He is incredibly versatile. He has rare size. He has very good movement skills for someone of his size. He possesses very good athletic ability, length, all those things you're looking for. I think he can come in, he could be a Leo. I think he could be a force as the hybrid, the Leo position. Teams like the 49ers really utilize this, as do the Seahawks and all of the coaching tree that falls under Pete Carroll. And the Leo position is basically a defensive end / linebacker. And this guy has the movement skills to perform linebacker type assignments, like dropping into coverage, has some hip fluidity, especially for a man of his size. And he's very explosive. He's incredibly strong. My one issue with Marcus Davenport, who I do feel like will be a top 20 pick in this draft because of these raw traits that are unteachable, is he doesn't consistently have the flexibility to bend, although he does have flexibility. I would say it's solid if I'm going to put a label on it, but it's not great. His pad level tends to get a little bit too high. I think he relied very heavily on just overpowering his opponent in college, and that showed up on tape, and it looked great, but he's not going to be able to do that at the NFL. So I think he needs to really refine his technical use of hands and be able to shed the blocks, be able to beat better athletes, stronger individuals, the people that he's going to be facing in the NFL. I still think he's a top 25 pick in this draft. I really like him so far, and I'm really excited to see him. He's probably the person I'm most excited to see down in Mobile now that Duke Ejiofor will not be there, because you cannot teach this size, you cannot teach this length, and you cannot teach this strength. Not to mention he has upfield burst, he has the pursuit to track screens down, so he's a rare type of athlete. So I'm very excited to see Marcus Davenport down there. Also, we have Jalen Holmes and Taquan Lewis that will be down there. Jalen Holmes and Taquan Lewis, both Ohio State individuals. They played alongside Nick Bosa and Sam Hubbard, who I'm incredibly high on, who is coming out of this draft. Thing about Jalen Holmes, he never started. He was basically the 5th starter on that defensive line. I think he's very, very long. He can stack and shed, very, very good motor and things of that nature. Active, violent hands. But I felt like he doesn't really have a lot of sand in his ass. As I said last episode about a running back when it came to pass block, I can see him being a situational type of guy at the next level, but I would like to see him in the one-on-ones here. I want to see him utilize a better anchor at the point of attack. But other than that, I feel like he's a solid prospect, as do I feel about Tyquan Lewis, who isn't really excellent at anything, but he's just a good player. But his lack of athletic ability, his lack of cornering ability, and his burst up the arc really need help. I mean, I just don't think he's that great of an athlete. I think he's a smart player. I think he used that to the best of his abilities at Ohio State for Urban Meyer. I think he has good play strength. He could play against the run. He could set the edge. He can stack and shed blocks, has good play strength, but he's just not an elite athlete, and that's going to hinder his ability to get on the field at the next level. There's really no other way around it. We also have Kylie Fitz. The thing about Kylie Fitz is he's battled back from serious foot injuries that really ended his 2016 season before it even started. I want to say he played in a couple games, and injuries really just derailed his career. He's 6'4", 260 pounds, so he is intriguing. Maybe he can, maybe he's fully healthy now, and he could show this down here, raise his draft stock a little bit, so pay attention to someone like that. I haven't watched an abundant of film. I only think I watched one game on Kylie Fitz, but he's somebody who I would root for, because anybody who deals with injuries and is battling back, those are always an underdog story, and who doesn't love an underdog story? We also have Chad Thomas, defensive end. He's 6'6", 275 pounds. I think that's really unique about this kid from the U is he has music records with Rick Ross and DJ Khaled. So he's a talented guy, but he's very solid to good build. I mean, being 275 pounds, 6'6", that's very good 4'3" end stature right there. Very, very long arms, and I think he could twist well at the line of scrimmage. Just from the little bit I did see of him, had good explosiveness off the ball, but doesn't really have the best anchor, and I want to say his most sacks he's had in the season is 4.5, something along those lines. He won't be a pass rush terror. I don't see that, but I think he can come in and be a solid rotational guy. Maybe he can work his way into a starting rotation, but I haven't watched an abundance of film on Chad Thomas, just preliminary film that I have watched. He seemed like an individual that has all the size and the length, but you would like to see a little bit more flexibility for an edge-type prospect. Moving on to some of these outside linebackers who can also potentially play on the edge. We have Ogbanya Okoronkwo. Now, Ogbanya Okoronkwo, who played outside linebacker for the Sooners, and I love just saying his name, Ogbanya Okoronkwo. But I liked him. I did a lot of cross-checking on this individual for the draft guide. He really just made his living in the offense's backfield. He has very, very good explosiveness, very good first step, change of direction. He uses his leverage really well, has some counter moves with an inside and outside spin. He's an incredibly good athlete. So I think he can really work his way up to like late first round, early second round considerations. Comes in to be a 3-4 kind of guy, outside linebacker. I think he had slight inconsistencies with his play strength, his stack and shed ability, his anchor versus double teams and things of that nature. I mean, he can set the edge, and he did do that, but I feel like it could use a little bit of refinement. Just his overall, how he plays against the run could use some refinement, but he has excellent athletic ability, and he's very, very intriguing with the burst that you really want with someone like that. Moving on to Shaquem Griffen now. Shaquem Griffen, what have I told you? This guy had 74 tackles, 13.5 for a loss, and 7 sacks, and he was doing it all with one freaking hand. Shaquem Griffen out of UCF has one hand. Just like, let alone he's playing with one hand, you got to think about how that changes all of his preparation, how it changes all of his workouts. He can't bench press, do all of these kind of things. Not to mention, he's somewhat undersized at 6'1", 223 pounds, but I'm really glad he got this invitation because he plays incredibly hard. We saw that when he faced Auburn in the bowl game. He has a good first step, good burst, short area quickness to cover, lower body drive for someone of his size. Has flexibility, and he can play in space, in coverage, has good pursuit angles and things of that nature. I really liked what I saw from Shaquem Griffen. I watched his game against Arkansas State and against Maryland in 2017. The Arkansas State game was in 2016. I think, again, his play strength, because of the weight, because of the hand, is going to be an adjustment for him because he is so undersized. Block shedding also is an issue because he doesn't have a hand. But this is somebody who's going to be drafted. This is somebody who deserves it. It's not just a charity case or anything like that because he is a good story because he doesn't have a hand. No, he is a good football player, and he is a good athlete at that as well. So definitely somebody that I wanted to address here. And then we have USC's Uchenna Nwasu, 6'2", 240 pounds. This dude had 13 passes defensed in 2017 as an outside linebacker. Had 75 tackles, 11.5 for loss, and 9.5 sacks. So I watched this game against Ohio State. This kid's a converted safety, sort of in the line of Sua Cravens. We've seen them do that with USC. They converted him to a linebacker, though. He has good change of direction. He shoots gaps with speed, ferocity, has motor. I really liked what I saw on tape from his motor, the upfield burst and the flexibility that you really want to see in an edge prospect with very, very good athletic ability, balance, and change of direction to play in space. And again, when you have 13 passes defense, I saw him running around and covering in space. He could do that at a pretty good clip. He got bullied a little bit in the run game, sometimes got washed down against OSU, who has stronger offensive linemen. He can also get caught too far upfield at times when he was rushing off of the edge, which left his gap integrity kind of exposed, kind of vulnerable. But still, Nwasu, probably going to be a second-round pick, like what I saw from him. Then we have Kemoko Turay out of Rutgers. Watched his games against Michigan and Ohio State, and I just watched Rutgers all season anyways. He's 6'5", 241 pounds, had 60 tackles, 6 tackles for a loss, and 3 sacks. I think he had some good pass rushing moves, good athletic ability, nice rip move, violent hands to get up the arc to maximize his flexibility, which is very good with his balance that he also has. He can also set the edge, had really good lateral agility. I thought he did a good job working through trash and things of that nature. Gets hip to hip up the arc fairly well. He's a name that you haven't heard too much about, but Rutgers' program is also pretty crappy, to be honest, right now, especially in the Big Ten. They are really struggling. And the thing about Turay is he struggled with injuries all throughout his career. I felt like he could have better location skills when it comes to tackling, and he could do better against the run. I felt like he got kicked out too easily. It was a little bit high, especially against power counter concepts when the pullers would come around the edge and just knock him out of his gap responsibility, which is an issue. And I also think he could come off the ball a little bit lower because he is a little bit too high sometimes. But Kemoko Turay, definitely somebody, local kid, going to be pulling for him because he is a Rutgers guy. Always got to pull for the Rutgers guys. And you got Garret Dooley out of Wisconsin. Now, the issue with him is he's not overly flexible, which can obviously be an issue. But the thing about the Badgers in Wisconsin is since the Badgers switched to the 3-4 a couple years ago, I think it was like 5 years ago, their outside linebackers have been very, very productive in the NFL. We've seen this with TJ Watt, with Joe Schobert for the Browns, with Vince Beagle. And Garret Dooley could be that next guy. Now, I don't think he's going to be a perennial double-digit sack guy or anything like that. But just from what I saw on tape, it seemed like he was a smart player. He could stack and shed and do all of those kind of things that you want out of an outside linebacker. So that's a name I'm going to be watching down there, Garret Dooley. I didn't see an abundance amount of tape on him. I didn't see any tape on Dewey Jarvis. Couldn't find anything on him because he's a kid from Brown, FCS school. But Dooley is just interesting in that sense that 6'3", 246 pounds. He's going to be able to set the edge. He's going to be able to diagnose plays, key, run, key the play combinations, see rush lanes, attack downhill, and do all of those kind of things that you're going to want out of a smart player coming from the Wisconsin Badgers program. Marquise Haynes, 6'3", 230-pound outside linebacker from Ole Miss. I didn't see any tape on him, but from what I understand, he's incredibly raw, and he is a solid athlete, but I have not seen much on Haynes, so I will be looking at him intently down there in Mobile. He had 7 sacks or above in all 4 of his seasons at Ole Miss. 7.5 as a freshman, 10 as a sophomore, 7 in 2016, and 7.5 this past year, and 9 or more tackles for a loss each year. So he's very productive. From what I understand, he's raw, but I will be watching him intently as well. As for some of the inside linebackers that will be down at the Senior Bowl, we have Nick DeLuca. I haven't seen anything on him because once you get to the inside linebackers, and especially when you get to the corners, a lot of these guys are from FCS schools. So there's a Division III prospect here. So a lot of you guys I haven't seen a lot of tape on, and I just haven't had time to get to a lot of the tape on the majority of these individuals. But Nick DeLuca, from what I understand, he's one of your prototypical linebackers when it comes to size, 6'3", 245 pounds. What I would question, just from being that weight, is how athletic is he? Is he going to be a 3-down coverage back? Can he cover a running back on an angle route or on a stick and flatten route anything like that? I'm not 100% sure. So we're going to have to watch him down at the Senior Bowl to see how athletic he is with the size that he does have, coming from an FCS program, nonetheless, with North Dakota State. So that's one of those things that you always consider. These smaller level guys are going up against much better competition. How do they hold up? Then you have guys like Dorian O'Daniel, 6'1", 215 pounds out of Clemson. And this is a more coverage type of guy, the exact opposite of what I'm talking about with DeLuca. He has very, very good movement skills, made a lot of big plays for Clemson, had 2 touchdowns for them, 2 picks this year, 5 sacks, 11.5 for loss. And again, smaller linebackers are sort of trending in the NFL when you really think about it. You got guys like Telvin Smith, guys like Miles Jack, just when you're looking at the Jaguars, and a lot of these smaller linebackers that Mark Barron was converted from a safety to linebacker that can move around, cover really well, but still have the physicality to mix it up and come downhill and nail somebody. And Dorian O'Daniel showed that at Clemson, even with his smaller size. So this guy could be, a day 2 pick and provide a lot of value for a team, especially when teams are trying to copy what the Jaguars are doing with their amazing defense right now. We also have guys like Mike McCray, 6'4", 248 pounds. How good in coverage is he? What's his sideline to sideline speed like? It's probably not as high as you'd want to be because he's about 250 pounds, and I don't know what his range will be. Will he be out there on 3 downs? And I could say the same for Micah Kyser. Micah Kyser is somebody I've been watching for a little while. He was ultra productive for the Cavaliers. He's the leader of that defense. And when I was watching Andrew Brown's tape, I saw Micah Kyser and Quinn Blanning plenty of times. Micah Kyser had 3 100 tackle seasons. So he's not somebody that you would shy away from. I just question, can he cover in space? Will he be out there all 3 downs in the NFL? And what's the value of a 2-down linebacker these days? So he has to prove that down here at the Senior Bowl. It's a big opportunity for these kind of players. We also have linebacker Trey Williams from Auburn. I mean, it's just going to be him playing in a much different environment. I haven't seen any tape on him. 6'2", 225 pounds, smaller, but he's not going to have Auburn's very solid defensive line in front of him. So I want to see how he adjusts to that. You also have Darius Leonard out of South Carolina State, FCS school. Miles Pierce out of the Citadel, FCS school. And Juwante Bentley out of Purdue, who's a bigger guy at 6'2", 260 pounds. Fred Warner out of BYU. I don't have much on those guys, to be honest, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I do. But let's move on to the corners real quick. Now, I don't have a lot on a lot of these corners, just mainly the bigger ones, because a lot of these guys are from small schools. But we had Anthony Averett, who I've watched a lot of, because I watch a lot of Alabama football. He will not be attending. But Levi Wallace, by all counts, still is. He's 6 foot, 183 pounds, and this kid can press. He has press abilities, better press abilities than Kevin King. Everyone thought Kevin King was a press corner because he has long arms, but he didn't do it too well at Washington, if we remember. He really didn't. So I think Levi Wallace, he can press, has the length, has the coverage ability. How good of an athlete is he? Is something that will be in question. How well will he test in his 40? Things of that nature. That's what I want to know about Levi Wallace. But he does have good technique, good length. I mean, he's coached up well. He's a Nick Saban coached guy. And now he's probably the headliner guy, him or Duke Dawson from Florida, who is more of a nickel corner. I think he has a good ability to click and close in zone schemes, which would really help him out when it comes to that. He has very good balance. I think he could come into the NFL, be a potential nickel defender. I mean, he is 5'10", 208 pounds according to the Senior Bowl website. So you puts on us a little bit more pounds. He could be a nickel linebacker kind of guy. But Duke Dawson, I think he has good athletic ability, not elite athletic ability, and he obviously is undersized with the size that he does have. So those are the 2 big names that I wanted to bring up. Now, we had a lot of these guys who I named before that did end up dropping out of the Senior Bowl, like Cameron Moore, like Anthony Averett. But we also have a lot of small school kids, and I haven't seen any tape on a lot of these guys. We have the kid from D3, and I wanted to bring him up because I was a D3 coach this year for Fairleigh Dickinson University, the school that I attend. And this kid is Michael Joseph from Dubuque. He's 6'1", 180 pounds, so he has the size. But he played in a D3 program, and I will be watching this kid intently when I am watching the cornerbacks, because you're taking a D3 prospect and putting him with SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, Pac-12, Power 5 schools. How can he adjust? I tip my cap to him for sure, but that's got to be an adjustment period. And then we have Danny Johnson from Southern, Teron Johnson from Weber State, Siren Neal from Jacksonville State, DeMontre Wade from Murray State. And those are all FCS programs. All FCS. So a lot of small school kids here. And this could be really a good week for the wide receivers when you think about the raw nature of D3 prospect, a bunch of FCS prospects. Of the raw nature of these individuals against guys like James Washington, Jaleel Scott, Alan Lazard, and all those receivers. So it could be a big week for those guys in the practice. Something to definitely pay attention to. But I don't have a lot of film, so I'm not going to pretend like I do when it comes to a lot of these smaller school guys. And I don't even have film on guys like Isaac Yadom from Boston College. We have Chandran Sullivan from Georgia State. It's a Sun Belt conference. MJ Stewart from North Carolina. Darius Phillips from Western Michigan, which plays in the MAC, not the Mid-Atlantic Conference, the division that Fairleigh Dickinson is in, but the one that Western Michigan is in. Jamarcus King from South Carolina. And Christian Campbell from Penn State. And that really rounds off the corners. A lot of small school guys. They can make a big name. This could be a huge week for these individuals, but they could also be exposed. And we saw Antonio Pipkin last year at a Tiffin be a quarterback go in there, and he was exposed and was not drafted. But you've seen smaller school guys like Ali Marpet come down there, get drafted high, and be very successful in the NFL. So the Senior Bowl can make and break people. And then we got the safeties. The safeties, my friends. First, the headliner, Marcus Allen out of Penn State, 6'2", 205 pounds, a very physical defender, very, very aggressive, a good downhill kind of defender. Safety, he was a 4-year starter, incredibly productive, but I don't know his ball skills. The guy only has one career interception. That's going to be come into question. So if he could show that he has the ball skills down in Mobile, that will really help his cause to be drafted in the second day. He doesn't always come to balance when he's going to tackle, kind of like Justin Evans from last year, who we're going to talk about his partner in crime in a little bit. But Marcus Allen, I felt like he was always going for the big hit and would swing and miss a lot, which if you're the last line of defense and that happens, not good. You can ask Marcus Williams that question. Then we have Quinn Blanning. Now, Quinn Blanning is 6'2", 210 pounds. This guy had 4 seasons with 100-plus tackles for the Virginia Cavaliers. 10 career interceptions. I saw, because again, I watched a lot of Andrew Brown, I watched some Micah Kyzir. I saw him be a very aware player. Very, very good mental processing. Has very, very good length for a safety. He was a strong, solid wrap-up tackler with understanding on how to attack downhill, how to take angles in pursuit to locate the ball carrier and not give up the big play. Like I said, I love his mental processing. Question his athletic ability, especially at the NFL level. Don't think he could be a pure cover one type of safety. He could probably fit into different schemes where he's going to have more help. Cover 2, possibly cover 3, but cover 1, I don't expect him to roam around like a top level safety would be, because I don't think he has that kind of range or that kind of speed to catch up when the ball is in the air. So I look at Quinn Blanning. He has a place in the NFL. Very, very productive for Virginia. And then we have Trayvon Henderson. Don't have much on the kid from Hawaii. Haven't gotten around to his film, but he's 6 foot, 200 pounds. Haven't gotten around to Trey Matthews' film. For Auburn, 6'1", 209 pounds. Jeremy Reeves, couldn't find any film on him. 5'11", 185 out of South Alabama. So he will be in his element for sure, because South Alabama plays at Ladd Peoples Stadium. And that's where the Senior Bowl is held. So he knows that stadium a little bit. Then we have Kyzir White. Kyzir White, I watched his game against Utah. He's 6'2", 220 pounds. And he is one of those hybrid safety linebackers, kind of in the likes of Sua Cravens, who we brought up not that long ago. He is going to be one of those mismatch kind of guys for defenses who can line up and cover bigger tight ends, because he has the kind of athletic ability, the movement skills at his size to do things like that. He was very, very physical. He transferred in from I want to say it was a community college. He transferred from a much smaller school into West Virginia, and he's Kevin White's brother, to be honest. They lined him up a lot near the line of scrimmage as a nickel defender, as a linebacker. They didn't, from the little bit of film I did see, I watched that Utah game, I didn't see him deep in cover one or in space too often. So I want to question that, and I want to watch that while I am down there at the Senior Bowl. But he seemed like he had good mental processing, and he was incredibly physical, will come downhill and just kick you right in the face. And that's the kind of defender that he was. That's Kyzir White out of West Virginia. And then last but not least is Armani Watts. Now, Armani Watts, 5'11", 205 pounds. Very similar to Justin Evans. Justin Evans came out of Texas A&M last year, was drafted by the Bucs in the second round. Now, I think Evans was a better athlete than Watts was, but they both have tackling issues, but they can both make big plays. So, again, Armani Watts is somebody at his size, 5'11", 6 foot 5'11", whatever he is, it's still an adequate size, good, solid size, I will say, solid size for a safety coming out of Texas A&M, and there will be a place for someone like him at the next level. And that is the defense. I know there is the punter from Alabama, J.K. Scott, will be down there. He's an incredibly talented punter. And when he's kicking the ball into the stands, maybe I'll throw it to him like I did with Jake Elliott last year. That would be fun, right? But those are the Senior Bowl defensive team. All the players that will be down there. And I didn't get around to watching a lot of film on the defensive backs. I tried to get one game of everybody. I did a lot of work on the edge. And I'm excited to just keep grinding as this draft season wears on. And I love every second of it. All the work we're doing at Inside the Pylon. Please check out the guide. And this episode is brought to you on the Grandstand Sports Network. We're doing great work over there as well. I hope you enjoyed me rambling about the Senior Bowl. There will be episodes about the Senior Bowl while I'm down in Mobile. We'll be going on Phantom, so check us out there. Phantom on Facebook. Look, Phantom up on Facebook, and that is where myself and my colleague Andrew Jordan, we talk fake football and fantasy, and I'll be talking a lot of draft because this is my element, baby. Have a great one, guys. Bye-bye now.